Welcome back, everyone. Today, we're tackling your request for an investment analysis of PayPal.
Oh, yeah.
You sent over a really interesting set of reports. And I got to say, I'm already kind of fascinated by this mix of positive growth we're seeing, but also some of these financial moves they're making have me scratching my head a little.
Yeah, it's always interesting to kind of peel back the layers on a company like PayPal.
Yeah.
You know, they are just massive in the world of digital payments.
Huge.
But I think the real question here is, what can we learn, from their recent financials and the strategic decisions they've been making about their future prospects
as a company?
Yeah.
So for anyone listening who might not be, totally up to speed on everything that PayPal does these days.
Sure.
Can we just get a real quick overview? Because it seems like they're involved in a lot more now than just like that button you see on checkout pages.
Absolutely.
Right.
You're right on the money with that.
Yeah.
A lot of people still just associate PayPal with, making online purchases easier.
Yeah.
But they've really grown into a much broader financial ecosystem.
Interesting.
Than just that.
Okay, so how do they actually make money? What are like the key revenue streams that we should be looking at here?
So there are two primary ways that PayPal generates revenue.
Okay.
The first, and this is probably the most obvious, is transaction revenue.
Right.
So think of it like a small toll that they collect every time money moves through their network.
Okay.
And this would include fees for processing payments, currency conversions, cross-border transactions, instant transfers, even crypto transactions.
So they're kind of like the digital equivalent then of like a Visa or MasterCard.
Exactly.
But with this added layer of other services on top of that.
Yeah, you got it.
Okay.
And that actually leads perfectly into the second revenue stream, which is value-added services.
Right.
And this is where things get a little more interesting.
Ooh, I like interesting.
Because it really signals PayPal's ambition to kind of move beyond just processing payments.
Okay, so tell me more about these value-added services. Then what exactly are we talking about here?
So think about partnerships with businesses
to
enhance their checkout experiences, subscription services for merchants, those pay later options that have become so popular with consumers, and even loans to businesses.
Wait, they're making loans now?
They are.
I mean, I use those pay later options all the time. I haven't really thought about the implications for PayPal's business by offering that.
Yeah, it's a really smart strategy because by offering these additional services, PayPal becomes much more embedded in the entire commerce experience for both buyers and sellers.
Right.
And as you mentioned, it opens up these whole new revenue streams that go way beyond just those basic transaction fees.
Okay, so that's a really helpful overview of how PayPal makes money.
Sure.
But what about their actual performance?
Yeah.
Give me the numbers.
Let's get into it.
The kind of stuff that gets investors excited or worried.
Right. Let's dive into some of their recent financial reports.
All right.
And we'll start with the headline. PayPal's revenue for Q3 2024 is up 6% compared to last year, reaching $7.847 billion.
6% growth, not too shabby.
Not bad.
Especially in this economy.
Yeah.
But you know what they say, revenue is vanity, profit is sanity, and cash flow is king.
That's right. You're absolutely right.
So.
And there's a little twist in the story.
Okay.
That I think you'll find pretty intriguing.
I love a good twist.
So while revenue is up, their adjusted free cash flow actually decreased by 19%.
Whoa, hold on. Decreasing cash flow while revenue is going up. That seems a little counterintuitive.
Yeah.
Should we be worried?
Not necessarily. What's so interesting here is this decrease in free cash flow might actually be a strategic decision by the company.
Okay.
It suggests that they're aggressively investing in new areas that could drive future growth.
So instead of just pocketing all the profits, they're plowing it back into the business.
Right.
But investing in what exactly? Where's all this cash going?
That's the million-dollar question.
Yeah.
And to answer that, we need to dig into their balance sheet a little bit.
Okay.
One of the most striking details is the significant decrease in their cash and cash equivalents.
Okay.
It's down to $7.272 billion from $9.081 billion at the end of 2023.
Wow. That is a big change.
It's a pretty big drop.
Where did all that cash go? Did they buy another company or something?
Acquisitions are always a possibility.
Yeah.
But there's another clue in their financial statements.
Okay.
Back in May 2024, they issued $1.3 billion in fixed-rate notes.
So they took on more debt. But why? What does that tell us?
Right.
About their need for capital and what their overall financial strategy is?
Well, issuing debt isn't inherently a red flag.
Okay.
Companies often take on debt to fund expansion, invest in new technologies, or even buy back stock.
Right.
The key is to understand why they're taking on this debt and whether it aligns with their long-term goals.
All right, so we've got this puzzle forming here. Revenue is up, but free cash flow is down.
Right.
They're burning through cash and issuing debt. It seems like they're making some bold moves.
Yeah.
But are they the right moves?
To answer that, I think we need to look beyond the numbers.
Okay.
And really examine their strategic goals.
All right.
What is PayPal aiming for beyond simply processing payments? What's their vision for the future?
Yeah, that's what I want to know.
Right. So we'll get into that.
Yeah, let's talk strategy.
Let's do it.
All right, so let's talk strategy. What are PayPal's big plans beyond just that little blue button we all know?
Right.
What's the big picture vision that they're going for?
So what I find really interesting here is their focus on building what they call personalized commerce experiences.
Personalized commerce experiences.
Yeah.
So it's not just about like processing the payments anymore.
Right.
It's about shaping the whole buying and selling experience.
Exactly.
Am I getting that right?
Yeah, you got to think about it from the consumer's perspective, right?
Okay.
A seamless, personalized checkout process can really make a huge difference.
Yeah, for sure.
It can be the deciding factor between someone completing a purchase or just abandoning their cart.
Oh, I've done that so many times.
Right.
If the checkout process is just clunky or it's asking for too much information, I'm out.
And that's exactly the problem PayPal is trying to solve.
Okay.
So, for example, they've partnered with Global Payments recently to develop Fastlane.
Fastlane.
It's a streamlined checkout solution that they say can increase conversion rates for merchants by 50%.
Wait, 50%? That's huge. Are those real numbers or just projections?
Those are actual results from their pilot program.
Wow.
So it suggests that their efforts to streamline checkout are really paying off.
That's impressive.
Which could be a big draw for merchants who are trying to boost their online sales.
Yeah, if I was a business owner, anything that could significantly increase my conversion rate, that would be like top of my priority list.
Okay.
So is that the core of their strategic vision, then, this whole improving the checkout experience?
It's a big part of it. But they're also making some pretty bold moves in other areas.
Like what?
For example, they're really aggressively expanding into business lending.
Okay.
With programs like PPWC and PPBL.
PPWC, PPBL. Can we just break down those acronyms real quick?
Of course.
What are those? What do they do and why should investors care?
So PPWC stands for PayPal Working Capital.
Okay.
And PPBR is PayPal Business Loan.
Got it.
So basically they're leveraging their massive network of merchants and all that transaction data they have to offer financing options that traditional banks might not.
So they're kind of acting like a bank now.
In a way, yeah.
I mean, it makes sense. They already have the infrastructure in place for moving money around, and they have all these insights into these businesses that a bank might not.
Exactly. It's a really smart way to tap into a new market.
Yeah.
Diversify those revenue streams and just embed themselves even further into the financial lives of their merchants.
Yeah, that's super smart, especially for like small businesses who might have a harder time getting a loan from a traditional bank.
Absolutely.
But let's not forget about the elephant in the room here, the whole buy now, pay later market.
Yes, BNPL. It's definitely a hot topic, and for good reason. It's become incredibly popular with consumers.
Oh, yeah.
But it's also a really crowded and competitive space.
It seems like every online store now has some version of buy now, pay later.
It's everywhere.
So how is PayPal approaching this, this increasingly competitive landscape?
They're making some interesting choices strategically.
Oh.
For example, they recently sold a large chunk of their UK and European BNPL loans.
So does that mean they're kind of retreating from the BNPL market?
Not necessarily. It could actually be a strategic move to focus on more profitable segments of the BNPL market.
Okay.
Maybe in different geographic regions or targeting specific types of consumers.
Got it.
It's a little too early to say for sure. But it's definitely something worth keeping an eye on.
It seems like they're always adapting their strategy to try to stay ahead of the game.
Yeah.
They're making some bold moves, taking risks. It's like they're playing financial chess or something.
That's a great analogy.
So?
And to really understand their next move, we need to look at the whole chessboard.
Okay.
The competitive landscape that they're operating in.
So let's talk about the industry then, and the big players who are PayPal's biggest rivals.
Right.
And what are the big trends that are shaping the digital payment space right now?
Well, the payments landscape is changing so rapidly.
Yeah.
And it's just becoming increasingly crowded and complex.
Yeah, I can imagine.
You've got the tech giants like Apple Pay and Google Pay.
Of course.
Really flexing their muscles, trying to dominate mobile payments.
Right.
Then you have the traditional card networks like Visa and MasterCard, who are not going to go down without a fight.
Yeah, they're definitely still in the game.
Oh, yeah. And then we also can't forget about the rise of all these alternative payment methods and the increasing interest in blockchain technology.
Wow. So it sounds like it's a real battle royale out there.
It is.
How does PayPal stack up against these big competitors?
Yeah.
What are their strengths and weaknesses in this ever-changing landscape?
So PayPal has a few key strengths that are really working in their favor.
Okay, good.
First and foremost, they have incredible brand recognition.
Yeah.
And a massive global user base.
Yeah.
Over 432 million active accounts.
It's insane.
That's huge.
That's like their own country.
Right. And that's a major advantage in the world of digital payments.
Yeah.
Where network effects are so powerful.
For sure.
And second, they have a really diversified portfolio of products and services. They're not just relying on that checkout button.
Right.
They're doing everything from consumer payments to business lending to cross-border transactions.
Right. They've really expanded way beyond just making it easy to buy stuff online.
Exactly.
They're like this whole financial ecosystem.
Right. And then finally, they've shown a history of really solid financial performance, even with all the recent macroeconomic challenges.
Yeah, they've been through a lot.
They weathered the storm,
Right.
and they're continuing to grow,
It's impressive.
which really speaks to their resilience and their ability to adapt.
So they've got a strong brand, a diverse portfolio, and a track record of financial success. But they must be facing some pretty big risks too, right?
Of course, no company is without risk.
What are some of the things that could threaten their growth
Right.
or disrupt their dominance in the market?
Well, one of the biggest challenges they face is that intense competition we were just talking about.
Right, all those big players.
Exactly. And this constant fight for market share is putting pressure on their profit margins,
Yeah,
which makes it tough to maintain profitability over the long term.
I can imagine it's kind of a race to the bottom in some ways.
It can be.
Everyone's trying to undercut each other,
Right.
and that can hurt everyone's profits.
Exactly. And then there's the constantly evolving regulatory landscape.
Oh yeah, I bet that's fun.
Governments around the world are really scrutinizing the fintech industry, and new regulations could have a big impact on PayPal's operations and how profitable they are.
Yeah, I can imagine that's a big headache for them, trying to stay compliant in all these different markets
It is.
with all these different rules and regulations.
Yeah, it's a lot to keep track of.
And then we can't ignore the potential impact of an economic downturn.
Right.
If people have less money to spend, that could really hurt PayPal's transaction volume,
Absolutely.
which would obviously directly impact their revenue.
It would.
It sounds like a really complex web of factors.
It is.
You've got the economy, regulation, competition.
It's all connected.
It all plays a role in whether they succeed or fail.
It does.
So the big question is PayPal positioned to continue being the top dog in digital payments?
Yeah.
Or are things starting to shift?
Right. That is the ultimate question.
That's what I want to know.
We've looked at their financials, their ambitious plans, and the challenges they're up against.
Right.
So how do we make sense of all this and figure out their investment potential?
That's what I'm dying to know. Give us the verdict. Is PayPal a buy, a sell, or a hold? So we've laid it all out, the strong financials, the ambitious strategies, this super competitive landscape they're in, and some of the challenges they might face.
Yeah, we've covered a lot of ground.
So what's the verdict? Is this a buy, a sell, or a hold?
Well, it's complicated.
Okay.
There are no easy answers here.
Right.
But I think the real key to figuring out PayPal's investment potential is to understand how well they can navigate all these challenges.
Okay.
And really leverage their strengths.
So let's break that down then. What are those key strengths again?
Sure.
And how could those strengths lead to future success for PayPal and by extension, someone like me thinking about investing?
Okay, so first remember, PayPal has exceptional brand recognition.
Yeah, everyone knows PayPal.
Right, that trust that they've built with consumers and businesses is a huge asset in an industry where security and reliability are so important.
It's a big deal.
And then we can't forget about that massive global user base.
Yeah.
over 432 million active accounts.
It's incredible.
That's a network effect that competitors are going to have a hard time replicating.
It really is like they've built their own digital nation.
It is. And then there's their diversified portfolio of products and services.
Yeah.
They're not just a one-trick pony here.
Right.
They're a whole financial ecosystem offering everything from consumer payments to business lending to cross-border transactions.
So they're not just betting on one thing, they're spreading the risk.
Exactly.
Across multiple different business lines. That sounds pretty smart in such a volatile industry.
It is. And I think if we zoom out and look at the bigger picture,
Okay.
the real challenge for PayPal is going to be finding that balance between, keeping their core business strong.
Yeah, the payments processing.
Right, which brings in that steady transaction revenue.
Yeah.
While also expanding into those high growth areas like BNPL, business lending, and even crypto.
It's a delicate balance.
It is.
But, I have to say, I'm pretty impressed by their willingness to try new things, adapt and evolve.
Yeah.
They're not just sitting around counting their transaction fees.
Yeah.
They're really trying to actively shape the future of finance here.
They are, and that's a good sign for any potential investor.
Okay. Why is that?
Well, companies that are willing to push the boundaries and innovate are often the ones that see the biggest returns over time.
Okay. So given all of that, what would you say to someone like me who's thinking about adding PayPal to their portfolio? What are the key things to consider when making that decision?
I think PayPal is a really interesting but complex investment opportunity.
Okay.
On the one hand, you've got a company with a solid track record, a huge user base, a brand everyone knows, and a management team that's willing to take calculated risks.
Sounds good.
And innovate.
What about the other hand, though?
Well, on the other hand, they are facing intense competition from both tech giants and these big established financial institutions. The regulatory landscape is always changing, which makes things unpredictable. And of course, there's always the chance of an economic downturn that can hurt their profits.
So it's not a guaranteed win here.
Right. It's a nuanced situation with both potential rewards and risks.
So doing your homework is really important in this case.
Absolutely.
This isn't like a set it and forget it kind of investment.
You really need to stay up to date on PayPal's moves, their financial performance, and just the overall industry trends that could affect them.
This has been so insightful.
Good.
I feel like I have a much better understanding now of where PayPal stands today.
Yeah.
What they're hoping to achieve, and the obstacles they might face.
I hope you feel ready to take this information and make your own decision about whether to invest.
I do, and I have a feeling this conversation about digital payments and companies like PayPal is just getting started.
This industry is always changing, and I'm really curious to see what happens next.
Well, on that note, I think it's time to wrap up our look at PayPal.
Okay.
But before we go, I want to leave our listeners with one final thought.
I'd love to hear it.
We've talked a lot about the tech, the numbers, the competition, all the strategic decisions. But I think it's important to step back and remember. At the core of all of this is a really fundamental shift in how we think about money and commerce.
That's a great point.
These companies like PayPal aren't just changing how we buy and sell stuff online. They're shaping the future of how we interact with money itself.
Absolutely.
And that's what I find so fascinating.
It's a huge shift.
It is. And I think we're only going to see that accelerate in the years to come.
Yeah, it's a space ripe for innovation and disruption. And I'm really excited to see how it all plays out.
Me too. And to our listeners out there, we encourage you to keep exploring. Maybe check out PayPal's investor relations materials. Read some reports about their competitors, or just follow the news and the trends in digital payments. The more you know, the better decisions you can make.
Couldn't agree more. Knowledge is power, especially when it comes to finance.
Excellent advice. On that note, we'll say goodbye for now.
All right.
Until next time.